Hello once again, and in this video tutorial we're going to continue with our collaging techniques. This one is going to focus on using the gradient layer mask to create an effect, a collage effect. So once again, I have my US letter document here, and I brought in this picture of the dog, and I also have this picture of the road. So I want to kind of combine them, start my collage, but combine them in a way using layer masking. So I'm going to take this road picture with my move tool, drag it into my document here, and it showed up behind. So I'm going to take my layers and switch it, put it in front. Okay, so you can see that this road picture is quite large. I have a lot to play around with. One thing I do notice is it's a little bit crooked, so I'm going to minimize my document, and on that road layer press Command T and just kind of straighten it out just a little bit. Okay, that's a little bit better. So now I'm going to zoom in, and on this layer here, this road layer, I'm going to add a layer mask because I want to hide parts of this road layer and show the dog underneath. Okay, so on the layer mask, remember it's all about black and white. Black hides, white shows, but I'm going to use my black and white as a gradient. So I'm going to press G on my keyboard to get the gradient tool. There's different kinds of gradients up here. I'm going to use the first one, a linear gradient. With my linear gradient tool, I can hold down my mouse and just drag down. Let's see what we get. Okay, that's very nice. So I'm dragging. Maybe I want to have this drag a little bit more. Come back to my gradient layer mask, and again, just depending on how you drag it. Okay, depending on how you drag it, you're going to get different blends. So I want to drag it down, so I'm hiding part of that ground and then showing the dog. So take a look at the layers. Okay, so here's my my road layer. Actually, I'll name my layer road, and that layer is the dog. So on the road layer, you have a gradient going from black to white. Black means you don't see it, so you're not seeing the top part of the road layer. If I were to hide this, hold the Shift key, click on the layer mask, you can hide the layer mask. You can see that the top part of the road layer is the trees. Hold Shift and click again on the layer mask. You can see that I'm hiding the trees, thus showing the dog underneath. Okay, so really nice blend there. Okay, and if I wanted to bring in more pictures, I could. So let's go get another picture. So I have this picture here of family photo, and I'm going to drag and drop that into my composition. And although this one is a little bit smaller than I would like, I can find a spot for it over here and maybe collage it, blend it into the composition. So it's there. I'll call this family pic. Add a layer mask. Now this time, press G for my gradient tool, make sure I'm on the layer mask. This time, instead of using a linear, I'm going to try for the radial gradient. Okay, so radial gradient, I'm going to place my mouse in the middle of the picture and drag outward, and you can see I get that kind of a blend. Sometimes what I noticed, what was happening with some of the students, is when they did a radial, they would end up with like a donut hole in the middle of their picture, and that's just because the gradient is going in the wrong direction. It's making the middle invisible, whereas you want the outer edges invisible. So if that happens to you, all you got to do is come up here and click the reverse button, and it will reverse the gradient for you. Now when you drag from the middle out, it makes the middle visible and the outer edges invisible. Now, the worst thing you want to do with a collage is have the edges showing. So I can soften up these edges by using a brush, a very big brush as you notice. And I'm going to right click the brush, make sure that your hardness is set to 0. So that way you're using a very soft brush. Black to hide. I'm just going to clean up the edges right there. And adjust the size of the brush. Clean up the edge right there. We don't want to see the edges. We want it to blend in very nicely. And if I want to bring out any more of the pictures, make it more visible, I can use white. So press X to get white. And I want his face to show a little bit more. So I'll just come there. Okay, usually want faces to show. Okay, X to go along the edges. Okay. Okay, so then we have that right there. I can even bring in another picture perhaps right there, but the main thing is just by using the gradient mask to bring in different images and have them kind of blend in, seemingly blend in with each other. Okay, you can see how I kind of finished this up by adding 2 separate text layers, and that's basically it. So again, it's just combining the images using a gradient layer mask, adding type, and saving it and submitting it. So until then, stay cool.